All right, one of our favorites back on the show, Chris Marler, Saturday Football Uncensored. I got the name right this time, just for you, buddy. Saturday Down South, and he's a big Bama homer, so of course we had to have him on the show. This is Happy Chris before Alabama loses to Tennessee. Hopefully, we can get some reaction after when they lose. How's it going, buddy?
Um, Listen, well, first off, I'll say this. Like, I know that you're mainly joking about the Bama Homer stuff, because I make no secret about it that I grew up as a Bama fan. I am a Bama fan, all that kind of stuff. I maintain the fact that I can be as objective and unbiased about stuff as possible. I criticize Bama all the time, all the time. I will tell you personally right now, this game this weekend, all that shit is out the door. And like every approach I've taken to this game is strictly as like a homer, like fuck y'all. This thing's been like circled on my calendar because I still have a calendar on the wall like an idiot for a long time. So.
And have you backed off Tommy Rees as the next head coach of Alabama?
God, it's so bad. I spent $57 on Etsy making shirts that said Reese Nuts, and now I have 3 shirts. It's so bad. They had five or like the game last week against Arkansas. If there was one bright moment, it was that they gained over 400 yards of offense, and that's the first time in 5 games or 6 games that they had gone over 365 yards of offense. Like, I don't. Yeah, I'll back off that. I don't think that's going to be the play at all. I think you know what? I'll say it. I don't think Nick was being honest with all of us when he was giving him rave reviews in July at Media Days.
Now, I heard on your latest episode of Saturday Football Uncensored, must listen, go check it out. But you were basically saying last week, struggles, that's a harsh word, but the inconsistencies for Alabama against Arkansas, that sets up well in your mind heading into this Tennessee game. Can you kind of rehash that thought?
Yeah, so like I think that a lot can from week to week, like people in general during football season, because it's like a very small season, right? It's 14 weeks. So we get caught being prisoners of the moment all the time. Like all the time. And Bama had a very close game against Arkansas, especially if you tuned in the 4th quarter and saw Arkansas storming back and had 15 points, blah, blah. Going into that game, I kept saying all week, I was like, I don't know why anyone is not talking about, 1, Arkansas plus 19.5, and 2, this being a trap game, because you just came off a huge emotional win at A&M, right? Then you have Tennessee in a revenge game at home the week after in a massive rivalry game. And in between, you get Arkansas, who's 2-4. You've beaten them for 16 straight years. And it's an 11 a.m. kick. And those 2 games, it's sandwiched in between those 2 games. Also a team that's like played you pretty close the past 2 years at times. Like it just screamed trap game. And Bama did really well for 44 minutes. And they just fell apart at the seams. The thing that concerns me the most about Bama is like the penalties don't seem to stop, for one. But it's the offensive line. And like you just keep thinking, especially because they said it. They said it themselves at Media Days about joyless murder ball, and it's really just joyless ball at this point. It's been really bad. But like they gave up 5 sacks, 4 to 1 player. I think it's the 6th straight game they've allowed at least 4 sacks in a game, which is the only I think Power 5 team that's done it in the last 20 years. Like, so going into this game, if you look at like where the matchups, like the important matchups are, I think all offseason we would have said, how's Bama going to stop Tennessee's offense? How are they going to like score points and keep up with Josh Heupel's offense? The biggest mismatch of this entire game, and it's a mismatch, is Tennessee's D-line and front 7 against Bama's O-line. Because it's going to be they're going to be in for a long day with that Tennessee front 4 who's been really, really good all year.
Over under 2.5 drunk texts or voicemails you're going to send me when Tennessee wins this game.
I won't talk to you if Tennessee wins. I won't talk to anybody. I saw we got that alert today about like all Americans need to be on like on watch about being attacked on Friday. I hope they move it to Saturday if Bama loses. I'll just say it because I don't want to be here anymore if that happens. So that was morbid and just a joke, I promise. But like I know that I need to stay away from anything that you say if y'all win. You were fine last year, you were fine, but like I know myself well enough. I know that you're a good friend of mine, and I like you, and like I also know that if you say anything about that game on Twitter, I'm going to overreact no matter what. Just fall for it every time.
Yeah, and how long after Tennessee wins do Alabama fans start saying, it's time to move on from Nick? Can we hire Josh Heupel?
See, like, I think that you need this more than Bama does, to be honest. I think that you're like, because this is year 4 of you doing this, of the decaying dynasty and all that kind of stuff. And like, I like, it's a tall task for them to go into Tuscaloosa. It is. And I think that like, there's a lot of reasons that I would look at this game and try to convince myself, be confident that Bama can win. But there's just also a lot of stuff too. If you're being honest, like there's a lot of potentially problematic things that could happen in this game. And what I tell you what concerns me a lot about Tennessee is that this is not an offense that is doing what they did last year. There's not going to be a receiver getting 5 touchdown receptions in this game. I hope not. Otherwise, I'm going to be really upset. But like last week against A&M, the best unit, the best part of A&M's entire roster and team, all that kind of stuff, is the defensive line and the front 4 and the front 7. And Tennessee decided at one point they were going to choose violence, and they just ran the ball, and they ran it at will, and they wore them down and played like Tennessee bullied Texas A&M into that win, and they played a complete football game. Like they pinned them deep in like late in the third quarter, I think early fourth, on the 1-yard line, stopped on 3 downs, get the ball back at like they were going to get great field position, end up running back for a touchdown. Like that's not luck. That's a well coached and like well rounded team, and like. I don't know how many. I think they had a lot of penalties, but I'm sure Bama will have more. They got fucking Jermaine Burton got a penalty on a false start when we were kneeling the ball at the end of the game. I don't even know that's fucking possible.
Yeah, so let's go there. That's what I wanted to ask you next. The penalties. That is not an issue that has resolved itself for Alabama, but maybe a little bit different story at home, but maybe not because you just shouted out a penalty last week. But our penalties. Is that a big concern going into this Tennessee game for Alabama?
So not really as much. I think like I'm not going to get into this with you because it's only going to make me mad about last year and the penalties. I don't know how Tennessee is the most penalized team in the like conference and almost the country. They managed to get 6 for 39 yards. Bama almost got 6 in a span of 3 plays. They got 5 in a 3-play series. I did a deep dive on this a couple weeks ago about like the difference in penalties for Bama, like on the road versus at home. And it's staggering. Like it's over 4 extra penalties a game. It's over 28 yards extra per game. And like I know that the bullshit narrative about Bama getting all the calls, like I know it. It's like just cliche dumb shit because if you look at the numbers, it's not real. Bama's really struggled on the road though, specifically with penalties. And I think like 3 of their last 6 true road games, they've had 10 more penalties than their opponent, like 10 more on their own. Like that's insane to me. At home, they have not had the same issues. They've still had some dumb mistakes, and they like, especially this team. But I'm not as concerned about the penalties at home as much as I would be on the road, just because of the track record. Like that's obviously been difficult. The other, the one thing that's concerning is that the timeliness of the penalties is like fucking awful. Like they've had 6 touchdowns called back. I don't even know how that's possible. So that kind of stuff is the main concern. Like, can you get off the field on 3rd down? Can you not do something stupid? Can you not turn a 3rd and 3 into a 3rd and 8? And Tommy Reese, if you're listening, can you not turn a fucking 1st and 10 to a 2nd and 16?
Who do you think Tennessee fans will be more upset with come Saturday afternoon? Joe Milton or Gary Danielson?
Joe Milton. Like, they're starting to turn on him, I think, and I feel like I don't want to pile on this kid because I've been like haven't really been sold on Joe Milton since before the season. It's just he's not the same quarterback as Hendon Hooker because no one is. Like no one is. Hendon Hooker was a generational quarterback at Tennessee. Milton is not going to beat Alabama, in my opinion. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if something happens, like I think it's going to be like a low-scoring game. And if he does the kind of shit that we've seen, Milroe do at times, like where he throws like that interception last week against A&M. If he does that, if he's the reason they lose this game, like if they're able to run the ball well and play great defense, but Milton has like 2 or 3 turnovers, yeah, they're going to be calling for a name they can't pronounce at quarterback like the next week. Like it's,
yeah. Well, you said it yourself. You're an Alabama guy, but on this show and many others, including your own, you accurately predicted Texas to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Do you see anything? Did you? Wow. Well, I didn't realize that. Do you see anything in Tennessee that Texas can do to upset the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa?
So again, the front seven, like in that game, Texas had five sacks. Bama had none, and Bama like is top 5 in the country in sacks this season. They've been really good up front. They had none in that game. Tennessee does not give up a lot of sacks unless something changed last week. I know going into that week they gave up the 3rd fewest in the country. So like that for sure. I think that Tennessee has like comparable like weapons like on offense. Like I don't think there's a Xavier Worthy necessarily. I don't think Squirrel White's that. I don't think they have like an A.D. Mitchell, but they do have guys that can get open. And here's the thing too is Sark and Heupel run 2 different offenses, but we saw last year that Heupel can like he out-coached Saban like a little bit during that game, maybe a lot of it. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know how you don't make an adjustment and just not put the fucking safety on Jalen Hyatt once. And everything he did in that game, Bama didn't have an answer for. So I think that kind of stuff, like I'm not saying out coach even, but out scheming at least is definitely something that I think Heupel might be able to do.
Which game do Alabama fans want to win more, Tennessee or Alabama?
What? You want to beat ourselves? You mean Auburn?
Oh wait, sorry. Tennessee or LSU?
I will tell you right now, I feel like this is like dramatic, but I'm going to say it anyway because that's kind of my whole shtick. If somebody comes to me right now and they could guarantee me a win over Tennessee, but then said that Bama might lose the rest of their games the rest of the year, but like guaranteed a win, and it was one that I could fucking shame Tennessee fans online for a while, I would take the deal immediately. I would like 1,000%. No, I don't really care about Auburn. Like right now, I don't know. Jordan Hare is gonna have to be extra fucking Jesus-y and spooky for this season if they're gonna beat anybody because they're so bad on offense. This one is the one that I like more than anything. This one, LSU. This one is the one because like here's the thing too, Mike. Like Bama's lost to LSU. That's a hard fought game like for like over a decade. That was like the marquee game in the conference for like about a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Bama and Tennessee had kind of fallen off from the rivalry because Bama had, won 15 in a row by 26 points per game. And no, like few of those games were very few of those games were close. And then last year happened and you guys that was the appropriate response. You stormed the field, you ripped down the goalpost. The timing of whoever put on Dixieland Delight as soon as Josh Heupel's interview ended is still one of the most iconic things I've ever fucking watched. It was incredible. But yeah, they enjoyed that. They enjoyed that win for a long time. And I think that Bama fans were probably tired of hearing it because they had to hear about it from Georgia fans enough. Yeah. Now here's the other one. I think Tennessee is probably the answer.
Now, what if you could throw Georgia in there though? Is that yeah?
You know why? Is because I genuinely don't think that I'll say 40% of Georgia fans realize that they lost to Alabama the same year they won the national championship. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many times I've seen somebody like in my mentions being like, yeah, well, Bryce never beat Stetson. And I was like, I don't know how to tell you how inaccurate that is.
All right, final question for you, Chris. Really appreciate your time. But, when Alabama loses a couple more games to end this season and Nick Saban retires in a couple weeks, who's your top candidate to replace the GOAT?
Oh, so I actually have been doing a weekly list, a weekly ranking of this. The one I put out this week, I didn't like the list as much as the one I had the week before. So I'll give you a couple of them out there. I think that you need a filler. Like the number one guy I'm going after is Dan Lanning, right off the bat. I think he gets it. He's already been in the program. He was under Kirby. He's had really good success at Oregon already, and I love the brand of football he plays at Oregon. Like it's not like old Pac-12 stuff or what Oregon used to do. He knows how to recruit, all that kind of stuff, and he's young. So that's number one. That's the first guy I would go after. After that, there's part of me that thinks that there's not going to be a guy that's going to want to take that job after Saban because it's going to be miserable. Like they're not going to live up to anything. So
What
you're
about
going to need
Dion?
like a filler. Was that?
Dion.
Exactly. So get Dion in here for like 2 or 3 years until he goes to the NFL or something. And like, because at least in the transition, Pepper says, hey, the transition that you're going through is going to be fun because you're going to bring in elite recruits. You're going to be like, everyone's probably going to like you because like, who doesn't like Dion? Actually, I don't know. Maybe that is going to backfire. But it's like, at least it'd be a fun experience, right? It'd be the most fun 8-4 you'd ever go. So I mean, I grew up watching 7-4 Mike DuBose teams, and I feel like Deion Sanders 7-4 would be a lot more pleasurable experience, except for the secretary, of course.
Yep. All right. Before you go, Chris, tell everybody where can they follow you, where can they find your show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. So Vern Funquist on Twitter and Instagram. The show is Saturday Football Uncensored. We have new episodes that come out. We have a live episode on Sundays, and we have a what do you call it? We have a show we record on Wednesday and comes out that night or Thursday morning. And also we have a hotline.
Where'd you get that idea? Oh, okay. I got the idea from you.
I know. No, but it's like fun, right? Like we did it the first year and thought we were going to have to shut it down because somebody called after a Florida loss to Bama and got mad and just immediately started bringing up like my ex-fiance. And so we blocked him. We blocked his number. And I swear to God, the next 3 weeks in a row, we had voicemails from the same person at 1:30 in the morning from a Planet Fitness landline. And he was going to get the trolling in. But yeah, I'll post it this weekend. I don't have the number in front of me, of course, because I'm not prepared for anything ever. But yeah, Saturday Football Uncensored, we'll do a hotline. We'll just, call us too. We'll love to talk.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, my friend. Good luck this weekend to them Tennessee Vols.
Thanks, dude.
All right, brother.